I'm going to give an overview of some of the features of the Rhythm Horizon content editor and how to use them. So we're going to start by importing a song. If the song has metadata, it will automatically fill the song title and artists. If the song does not have metadata, it will use the song file name as the title and leave the artists blank. We allow multiple artists to be set independently, and it will automatically generate a string that concatenates them. We have different artist types, so that if a artist is listed as featuring another artist, if you set them as a contributor, it'll show up in that way. The purpose of this is mainly for sorting. If you were to sort songs by song artist, this song would now show up under Frums, Kuma, and Matt. I'm going to remove the fake artist for now and hit OK. So now when you add a song, it's going to come up under uncharted songs because the song has no charts. If you go into the uncharted songs group, you're going to see this chart here. You can select that song and then hit new chart. When you select new chart, it's going to bring up a chart properties window where you can enter a name of the chart. We're going to call this one demo, and chart authors, which work in a similar way to how song artists work, in that you can have multiple authors and they can be either labeled as authors or contributors. Eventually, once we have proper users, it will automatically add yourself as an author when you create a chart, but at this point you would have to do that manually. The first thing we need to do when writing a chart to a new song is to set up the timing data. Timing data is the relationship between beat and time of the song. In Rhythm Horizon, we have two different ways to think about timing data. We call timing changes and breakpoints. Timing changes consist of an offset, which is the time at which beat 0 occurs, a list of BPMs, which is beats per minute, the rate of change of beat over time, a set of stops, which is where time advances without the beat changing, and a set of skips, where beat changes without the time changing. Breakpoints are simply pairs of time and beat, and when you set breakpoints, the game will interpolate between them to automatically generate BPMs, or if two adjacent breakpoints have the same beat but different times, they represent a stop, and if they have the same time but different beats, they represent a skip. If you don't already know the BPM of the song, breakpoints are usually the easiest way to get it on sync. You can place additional breakpoints by simply right-clicking off to the side of the note field and hit Insert Breakpoint. If you were to right-click on an existing breakpoint, you get the options of erasing or editing the breakpoint instead. Breakpoints can simply be dragged around, and it will interpolate between adjacent breakpoints to come up with BPMs. If we're to zoom in on this breakpoint here and line it up very closely with this feature, we can put it very precisely into place, and then we can come up here and do the same with this one. If I then hover over this breakpoint, it will tell me that it's set the BPM to 112, which I happen to know for this song is correct. One of the nice features of working with breakpoints is that any changes to them are localized. If I were to come way down in the song and add a couple more breakpoints, and then drag one of them around, it wouldn't change anything before the first breakpoint or after the second breakpoint. The changes only occur between the preceding and the following breakpoints. If a song is drifting in time, this can be used to sync individual sections without changing anything that comes before or afterwards. You'll notice there are green dashes on the scroll bar. Those are to indicate where the breakpoints occur. If we were to view timing changes instead, we see orange dashes where BPM changes occur. For some songs, it is difficult to tell what's going on just by looking at the waveform. For that reason, we include filter options to help figure out what's going on. We have several different styles of filters, each with their own filter types. By applying a simple high-pass filter, we can see immediately where certain things are happening. You can in real time change the frequency response of the filter or the various other parameters. Notes are placed by beat in the song. We quantize beat up to the thousandth of a beat to allow precise placement, but most notes generally fall on a few specific common fractions. Each of these common fractions has a color associated with it to help with easy identification. By pressing left or right, you can change the current selected quantization between the common quantizations. The current selected quantization is displayed up in the corner as a fraction of a beat, and you can see the color of the selected quantization by the color of the notes next to the prompt. If you hold Control while you press left or right, you can switch between individual quantizations up to any value. Eventually, we'll have a way to type in a fraction as well, but that is not yet implemented. Notes can be placed using either the keyboard or the mouse. The default configuration for the keyboard uses Q for the up left, C for the down right, and the various keys in between them for the other directions. You can use backspace to erase notes behind you, or space to erase notes in front of you. To place notes with the mouse, you hold Alt and click wherever you would like to have a note. With the mouse, you can hold the right click to erase notes that fall under the cursor, and you can drag it around to do so. When placing notes with the keyboard, by default it will automatically advance to the next quantization. This feature can be turned on and off by going to the Tools menu and clicking Auto Advance, or by hitting Ctrl-Shift-A. You can undo changes to a chart by hitting Ctrl-Z and redo them by hitting Ctrl-Y. Under the Chart menu, there's a View History button which will bring up a history list. You can click on any point in the history to jump to that point in time in the chart. The song has a separate history buffer because changes to timing data are shared across all charts to the song. You can similarly click on these to change between the different timing data points of the song. You can also use Ctrl-Shift-Z and Ctrl-Shift-Y to undo and redo song changes. If you click and drag the mouse, you can select different ranges of notes. You can then use Ctrl-C to copy them, Ctrl-X to cut them, and Ctrl-V to paste them. You can also press Ctrl-Shift-V to do what I call a floating paste, and they'll be pasted wherever you click. You can select subsets of notes by clicking and dragging on small regions. You can increase the regions by holding Control while you drag, and you can click on individual notes by holding Control without unselecting anything else that is selected. You can also remove notes from selected regions by clicking on them when hitting Control. If I then cut this region, those notes remain. Notes can be placed into different layers. Layers are used for certain visual effects and can also be used for organizational purposes. To create a new layer, you can right-click in the Layers area, or you can go up to the Layer menu. If you have a range of notes selected, you can also right-click and either cut or copy to new layer, and you can use the hotkeys Ctrl-Shift-X and Ctrl-Shift-C to do the same. If multiple layers have notes at the exact same location, those notes will show up in red, and there will be red indications on the scroll bar of where such notes occur. If you were to save and play this chart, both notes would show, although the game would only expect and allow you to hit one of the two notes. If for whatever reason one of the notes was not hittable, such as if the layer was marked as being fake, then the notes now show up in yellow, and there's yellow indications on the scroll bar letting you know that there is a drawing conflict where two notes will draw in the same location, but the actual chart does not have any conflicts. We can have multiple charts open at the same time. We can either hit the New Tab button, or we can go up to File and hit Open. In either case, it brings us back to the browser. You can select multiple charts for the same song at the same time using Control, and you can hit Enter or click Edit Charts to open them all at once. We can copy and cut or paste between different charts if we like. The different tabs show up in different colors based on any changes that have occurred. The chart will show up in red if there are chart changes, it will show up in yellow if there are changes to the song but not the chart, and it will show up in orange if there are changes to both. We can playtest our chart by going up to the Play menu and hitting either Play from Current to play from where the prompt is, or Play from Start to play from the beginning of the song. If we've selected a range of notes, Play Selected Range is an option as well. There are several ways to quickly navigate through a chart. You can click on the density graph to jump to that point in time, and you can also drag the scroll bar around. The density graph will always be linear in time, but if you have selected beat spacing and the BPM of the song is not constant, the scroll bar will be linear in beat and not time, and the two may be different. As you add notes to a chart, the density graph will automatically update itself anytime you stop. Similarly, the difficulty will automatically recalculate.